Today I'm going to do some work and talk about Tissot T-Touch II watch. So I should do like a brief introduction. So if you're new to the channel, I'm a watch hobbyist enthusiast. I'm not a watchmaker. My background is in visual effects production and more recently electronics development. And I kind of got interested in watches because I live in Geneva, Switzerland, and there's a lot of watch activity around here. I've lived here for 22 years, actually. And I kind of got interested in, as my electronics designs got smaller and smaller, I got interested in the tiny world of mechanical watch movements. And because vintage watches are inexpensive, I started buying inexpensive vintage watches and playing around with the insides of them. Like this one, I removed the dial and did a bunch of kind of hack work on it. But today I'm gonna. So if you're kind of like, if you're learning watchmaking or you're interested in learning watchmaking or interested in vintage watches or interested in what's inside of a watch and what you can do without becoming a watchmaker in terms of maintaining, cleaning, waterproofing, polishing crystals, reluming, that kind of thing. There's a lot of resources on my channel for doing those kinds of things, or at least kind of observing my experience doing it. You have to be careful. You can make mistakes. There's a video on here about all the mistakes I've made. Actually, they're all about that. But at the same time, there's like a lot of kind of knowledge to be shared. And by taking advantage of that knowledge sharing aspect of it, you can avoid making some of the mistakes I've made. And it can be cheaper than making those mistakes and damaging things. So anyway, that's the introduction. The other thing is mostly I'm interested in vintage mechanical watches, but this video is a little bit different because I had a Tissot T-Touch that I wore for about 7 years, and that's an electronic watch. It's in the style of a mechanical watch. It has a stepper motor, so it has a very limited amount of mechanical parts in it. The movement is controlled directly by motors on the hands. And then there's quite a bit of electronics. But I had one for 7 years or so, which I wore every day because it was a great tool watch. And eventually it broke, and then I bought a replacement. And now I already have the original kind of parted out. I have a replacement, but I don't really enjoy wearing the replacement. I kind of like because I wore this for so long. This is a titanium case. I thought I would like that because it's lighter and a rubber strap, aftermarket rubber strap. But I ended up kind of wishing I had the old metal one back, a steel, even though the steel is very heavy. So what I'm going to try to do is open this one, exchange parts around, and get the original one that I wore for 7 years working again. And I have a third one, which is in perfect condition. This is kind of the original plastic rubber strap as well. So this is more like just one that I wanted to keep and not damage. But it also is a kind of backup so that if I destroy this one's already destroyed. If I destroy this one in the process, then I still have a backup watch. And that may seem insane, but yeah, it is probably. So the other thing, so that's basically what I'm going to do today. And then you'll learn a lot about the Tissot T-Touch II in the process. As I'll try to I'll try to talk about it as I go. So where to start? Oh, so one of my objectives, and this is what's going to make this very hard. There's like a tin of screws. One of my objectives is to switch back to this dial. This is like a carbon fiber look dial, and this dial is so boring, but I love it. That's what I had for a long time. And there's some issues with that because if you know these little electronic things, basically in this slot is a piece of rubber, which is not a piece of rubber. It's actually an electronic conductor with conductors all through it. And so what it does is when you slip it in this crack, you can kind of see the lines on it there. So it conducts only in this direction in cells. So it connects the display and everything on that dial. I guess it's mostly the display. It connects that stuff to the main circuit board. And this is, in my experience, these things can be, I've taken apart over the course of my life many, many electronic things and calculators and things like that. And you can just really get into trouble with this stuff because you have to have a clean contact. And I could have already touched this and contaminated it and put it back in this dial. And even if I take a fresh one from this and put everything fresh on there, I could run into a problem with that no longer working. And that's kind of why I'm anticipating that this project could fail. The other thing is it's been a long time since I took all this stuff apart. I'll just show you, so I don't remember where things came from, but we'll see it as we disassemble this one. So this was this is the circuit board from this one. So the stepper motors are in this housing right here. Those control the hour and minute hands. And that's the only mechanical part of this watch, which is kind of cool. Because of that, this watch can do these, if you're not familiar with it, the hands can dance around and do, is that in the shot there? So you could set it as a altimeter. All that does is it moves to the hands to the altimeter to show that's what mode you're in. Chronograph, that's just telling you it's a chronograph, and then the chronograph is actually on the digital display here. There's what's at the bottom here? Oh, a compass. So that's it's pointing towards magnetic north. Do I have a magnet here? No. So there's a compass function. There's a alarm, 2 different alarms, thermometer, and then weather, which is a barometer. And to use this, you reset. I'm not sure how. I don't remember how to use that. But basically, when the barometer is rising or falling, that's an indication if atmospheric pressure is changing and if rain is coming. So you can use that. I never used it very much. But anyway, the cool thing is the way those hands can move because of this motor. But it's barely a mechanical watch. It's mostly an electronic watch. And it has some sensors. The sensors for the barometer and for the thermometer are in this panel on the back. And this makes it kind of fragile. They will tell you do not try to even change the battery on this yourself because the barometer function, it's actually, I think it's fallen out of here, but basically there's some silicone grease and a loose element in here that kind of floats around in silicone grease, and we'll see that when we open this one up. And it's easy to damage that. So I think that's enough to get started. And I'm going to have to really pay attention to, luckily have all these spare parts, but I also have to pay attention. This is the worst tweezers. As I do this, I have to keep track because this is my This is my good one, and I have to reassemble it with all the correct parts, and there are quite a few parts involved. So my recollection is that the only part that really wasn't working was the thermometer module. But because of that, it was showing, this was my assumption, this one was showing a bunch of errors, which was not pleasant. It wasn't just like the thermometer didn't work, it would kind of have error codes. So, but this one is working fine. So we'll get that open and get going on this. This is a strange band because it uses, it doesn't use spring bars. So you need a kind of longer than usual poker. Is that a spring bar after all? Maybe it is because, yeah, I think it's not original. There's no reason you can't use a spring bar. So I had switched, on this strap I switched it to spring bars. On this strap it's a press through thing. And I'm going to need to remove this just to have it out of the way. Watch that be spring bars too. I'm pretty sure that's... So, I think most people know, but Tissot is it's an old Swiss brand. It's been around a long time. It's part of the ETA family of brands now that includes ETA and Swatch and Omega and I think Longines also now, I'm not sure. So there's some kind of interesting old vintage Tissots also. I see there are fingerprints inside this, so one of the things I need to do before I go too far is clean that. Paper towel like that can leave dust, but I can check for dust, and then I can, if there is dust, I could remove it with Rodico, but I don't see any dust. So the bezel's still working on this. The bezel is just cosmetic. You can align it with North, but it doesn't mechanically attach to anything. I should do something with these buttons and try to make sure they're waterproof still. But I don't know how to do that. Okay, so that's an example. There's a hair that doesn't want to come out. Also, once I start touching this thing, it also, even though I used some cleaner on it, it also starts having finger oils on it. Okay, so anyway, we'll do some Rodico. This is just kind of picking up the fibers that come off the paper towel. And then the other thing, I need some tweezer. So this rubber seal can be reused. Eventually it'll need to be greased with this, just silicone grease. And I'll probably clean it a little bit. I should clean my working area here too. Oh, something I've been meaning to say, I should tell people in all my videos. On a video like this, I put an index so you can skip ahead to when it gets interesting. Hopefully the description on it will be informative enough that you can see when that'll be. And then also you can, on YouTube, you can use the gear icon to make the video play at up to double speed. And you can still understand what I'm saying if you do that. So if you want to just kind of get to the interesting part, you should feel free to do that. Part of the reason I'd like to keep the videos in real time is because it's an excuse, actually. It's easier for me to edit it that way because I don't have to make trimming decisions. But it's also for people, it's like more realistic for you to know how much time something takes. And of course, people are in a hurry. A lot of people don't want to see something in real time, even though it does tell them more about how long it takes. So I understand that, but use the index and the double speed thing to move through it faster if need be. Because once I start editing, I start getting into question of like, it's easy to over edit as well, or for people watching it not to really understand some step, like you make assumptions about what's obvious. Sometimes things are not that obvious. Okay, so oh, this is pretty dirty, even though it's my good watch. So we're gonna try to clean this a little bit, but not much because of the fragility of that sensor. Now the other thing is, as soon as I start lifting stuff like this, I need to be careful. This back is going to go back on there. I'm going to clean it a little bit, and I'm going to clean underneath where it contacts the rubber seal, that ring around the edges of that. But for now, the difficult part is getting this whole assembly out and replacing only the dial. And that is going to make my life much more difficult than if I didn't replace the dial. I'm going to seriously consider not replacing the dial because I think it's going to fail. The black dial actually looks better. It's more like nostalgia because I wore the gray dial for so long. Okay, so is that a third? Yeah, I've never... Oh, there's 4 actually. Okay, that's crazy. There's 4 of these tabs on this guy. Right now I'm doing this without any magnification, which is kind of like doing it blind. But this is kind of something I know what is going on there. Okay, so now we can see if I kind of want to get the microscope over this for a second. Too high, so I can use a case cushion. I thought I saw ETA logo. Yeah. Where'd that go? ETA. No, 0 joules. I don't know if that's a movement number for 48311. ETA printed circuit board. Anyway, that's cool. It's interesting also, this light makes that unreadable. This screw is interesting. You know what I should do? I should look at other people's YouTube videos about removing this movement. What I'm trying to do is just nudge it a little bit and see if it's free. It seems like it should be free. Oh wait, was it moving a little bit? Hard to say. Yep, okay, good. And our rubber gasket's coming. You can feel the difference in weight of those two cases. Now that I could have lost a spring right there, but I don't think I did. Okay, so the easy thing to do would be just go with the black. Let's look at the how the hands are mounted on there. I'm also curious if that material is actually carbon fiber or just some kind of, I think it is. It's underneath a flat, some kind of flat epoxy or something. So it's flat on top for painting on it, but underneath it's transparent, and then behind that is some carbon fiber thing. I think I'm just gonna use this. I don't think this is gonna work. It's been through too much already. So if I didn't do anything else wrong, that makes it a whole lot easier. So I noticed all these when they came out, the tabs were all, the tab has a little angle to it. Very slight, but basically they're all slightly dished up. So I'm putting them back that same way. Now, neither of those are tight yet, but I'm going to tighten them all at the end. These may already be too tight on the other side. So the reason that was a little bit tough because it actually has to go under the little ledge that it fits under. I'm going to do this one too while I'm at it. And then I wonder if this is going to, I wonder if they ever made a steel black, I'm pretty sure they did, black dial carbon fiber steel version of this. I kind of hope that they didn't, because then I'll have a unique watch afterwards. I remember when I bought the, it was a Father's Day present, when I got the original one from my daughter and my wife, and I remember picking that gray dial because I was like, I just wanted it to be as non kind of flashy as possible. And I already felt like the look of this watch was already too blingy, like looks like a chronograph. It is a chronograph, but so I was like, that gray dial is like, look at the damage I did just now by not being careful. This screw head. Doesn't matter, but that's what happens. And also, any watch that's touched by anybody, you know, like you can see the screw head. It's got a little. That's just the nature of even metal parts. They're not like they're soft. Ultimately, for me, watches are not this kind of, you know. It's not a forever proposition. High value watches that are forever, like you want to keep them as an investment forever, you should not wear it. Put it in a vault. Only have it serviced by Patek or Rolex or whoever. The cool thing about Rolex, which I also have, which was my dad's, which was from 1962, the watch. It's a Datejust stainless steel 1603. The Rolex, the case is so good that it's going to last forever. So if you only have it serviced by Rolex, it seems too easy, but if you only have it serviced by Rolex, they have all the parts. They're gonna, you know, if you, so you can wear it, you can put wear on it, you can. When something is wrong, they can replace it. They'll replace the parts with original parts. So that's why I think Rolexes are cool. I think that's why a lot of people think Rolexes are cool. There's the one thing I feel like if you're gonna, no, it's not true. I guess people use their phones for alarm. Anyway, I like alarm. Like I like a watch with an alarm. I don't like to rely on my phone as an alarm for some reason. And Rolex really didn't make alarm watches. I think there's a Tudor. Tudor is a division of Rolex. I think there's a Tudor Advisor, which may even be made today, an alarm watch. But I'm pretty sure there's nothing Rolex that's alarm. That's the actual time. Oh, you can't see. That's the actual time. Okay, so I think I'll put this in this case. Just to protect it. Oh, I remember also like having the battery changed on this. My recollection is that in Switzerland, they asked 120 Swiss francs to change the battery. The battery is a CR2032, which, because I buy them from DigiKey for other purposes, DigiKey is like a supplier, electronic supplier based in the US. They're like less than $2 each. When you buy them at a reasonable price at the grocery store, they could cost you $5 or $10. But the 120 to install it, because they said it's so complicated, I think they send it back to Tissot to change the battery. So I didn't change the battery just now, but you could kind of see there's not that much involved in changing the battery. But for years, I wouldn't touch it myself. Since I started tinkering with watches, completely changed in that respect. Not completely. I still won't take apart a Rolex, but... And also, I paid the price, and will continue to pay the price of making mistakes. Just thinking, I think that it was like this. Okay, there's something else I wanted to get to, which I will in a moment, which is, damn. I don't know why they did these. seems strange. Oh, I know why, actually. I was going to say, I don't know why they didn't use spring bars, but it basically simplifies the connection underneath. Like, it is kind of a pain, and these are solid end links, so they'd have to leave a big cutout in the solid end link for you to get in there and release the spring bars if it used spring bars. I just want to set this back to normal time function. I thought it's supposed, oh, maybe it goes back on its own. No. So now I just raised an issue, which is the touch screen working? Yeah, it is. If you touch the touch screen too much, it'll disable itself. So I think that's what happened. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about, let's get this. It just went into compass mode. Okay, go back to being a watch. Man, that's crazy also. My wrist is like so much smaller. I'm shrinking as an old man. Okay, I'm happy to have this ridiculously heavy steel case and bracelet. It's back in my life. And I have the titanium backup for when I'm too old and feeble to wear such a heavy thing. And I have my parts backup for the next time I feel like changing things out. Tissot buckle. Okay. So there's one other thing I wanted to do in this video. There's another electronic watch. I just grabbed the same box. Where's that? Here. This is a project that I may or may not approach again. But this is kind of super interesting. So what this is a fossil Q. This watch is not made anymore. You can see it's been taken apart. That's not the, yeah, I do need to open the browser. Sorry. What a pain. Oh yeah, before I forget, this guy Stuart, who's a subscriber, he asked me to show this and ask people if they know what it is. And we decided it's probably for measuring
the width of a mainspring. And the clue is that it goes down to 1 and then it goes 0, 00, 000. And,
you know, if these were like millimeter numbers or something, you wouldn't go 0, 00, 000. Here's another picture of it. But maybe that's not what it is. If anybody knows what that is, leave a comment. Okay, and then this thing is really cool. There's this, okay, so what it is a hacker did something really cool, which is he disassembled this watch, the Fossil Q, and I'll leave a link in the description here, but basically he remade the main board in this Fossil watch. He made his own printed circuit board with the controllers for these stepper motors on it, and an Arduino, like a tiny Arduino, and the code, so that you can buy one of these old watches, take these stepper motors off, use open source software to copy his printed circuit board design, which he puts on the link on this page. You can send that to China or wherever and have it made and assembled with the parts on it. Get it back, screw the motors back on it, and you can program. You can program your own watch that also uses these stepper motors for settings and time display, and you can put it back in the Fossil case. And in this case, he made a new dial for it, also out of printed circuit board. And like I said, I'll put a link, but there's a YouTube video about it. Let's just go through that real briefly. So he calls it board swap because it's swapping out the original board for a completely different board. So that's like old board, new board. And then there are links in here. As I recall, you'll have to dig through and find it, but there are links to the board design and everything else. I think that's fantastic. This is something that I could get into doing, but it's time consuming and it's ultimately probably not something I will do. But when I started kind of getting back into watches, that was a big inspiration. Like I was like thinking it would be cool to make my own watch, and to start with something like that would give you a huge head start in terms of making it really relatively easy. Like it's definitely a huge project, but if you really want to do that, it makes it so much easier than starting from scratch. To have somebody show you how to do it, but it's also it's changing out the entire electronics, and he did some really cool things with it. I don't remember exactly what he did, but you after you do that, you can program it to do whatever you want, and I just love that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's it. That's the Tissot. The Tissot's in my collection, and if you watched any part of this, thanks a lot. I hope it's useful to somebody in the future, maybe even just for changing their battery in their T-Touch II. T-Touch II is still like widely available on the used market, and it's a really cool watch. It's probably, I know a lot about watches, and it's like super useful watch if you don't mind wearing a electronic watch that's not a smartwatch. It doesn't have any connectivity. I think that there's a Tissot 3 now or something that does have messages, Bluetooth messages and stuff like that. But the thing about this is it'll last for 2 years, I think, with one battery. And so that smartwatch that has Bluetooth and everything, you have to charge it every night. That's a whole different thing. Okay, thanks again. Thanks a lot. See you on the next one.